members of the press. And again, my apologies again that we're bringing you back again just after a few days here. As a follow-up to the series of engagements and releases from the Central Bank of Nigeria in response to the impact of the coronavirus COVID-19 on the global and the Nigerian economies, the CBN has, in the last few days, begun engaging Nigerian compatriots and stakeholders in the private sector on how to provide support to the Nigerian government in procuring equipment, funding, and materials to combat the menace of this unfortunate pandemic in Nigeria. Like you are all aware, a total of 125 persons have been infected globally as at this moment. 81,285 in China, 74,386 in Italy, 73,386 from the United States of America, and 56,197 persons from Spain, just to mention a few. In Africa, South Africa has 927 persons so far infected. Although the number in Nigeria so far stands at 51, we are concerned that this number may rise exponentially in the next few weeks. In terms of fatalities, China has had deaths of 3,287 persons, Italy 7,503, United States of America 1,062, Spain 4,145, and so far in Nigeria, just one fatality. Ladies and gentlemen, Nigeria must prepare for the worst in responding. The Central Bank of Nigeria, on behalf of the Bankers Committee and in partnership with private sector led by Alhaji Aliko Dangote Foundation, Access Bank, have come together to form the Nigerian Private Sector Coalition against COVID-19. This coalition was created out of the urgent need to combat the unfolding COVID-19 crisis in Nigeria. The rate at which the virus is spreading is unprecedented, and it appears we are fighting our most lethal adversary to date. So far, the federal government of Nigeria has made strides in the fight, but it is clear that the private sector needs to step in and support efforts already being made. The objectives of the coalition are: 1. Mobilize private sector thought leadership. 2. Mobilize private sector resources. 3. Increase general public awareness and education and buy-in. 4. Provide direct support to private and public health care's ability to respond to the crisis. And 5. Support federal government's effort. In doing this, these four major committees have been set up, comprising: 1, a steering committee. This group will be responsible for providing leadership and steer the coalition and committees in procuring all needed funding, equipment, and materials for the battle against this pandemic. The steering committee, according to consensus by the stakeholders in the private sector, will be chaired by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, who currently chairs the Federal Government Committee on COVID-19. This morning I held engagement with the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. Just while at the time I was making efforts to reach him, he was indeed also making efforts to reach me for us to see how we can work together and galvanize the private sector towards giving the needed support to the federal government to combat this pandemic. So I say that he is fully briefed and aware of this press conference. Other members of the steering committee will be announced later. 2. Funding committee. This committee will be responsible for the initial funding of this effort. Membership comprise the Central Bank of Nigeria, Aliko Dangote, Herbert Wigwe, Jim Ovia, Tony Elumelu, Shegun Agbaje, Abdul Samad Rabiu, and Mr. Femi Otedola. Each member of this committee is expected to contribute at least 1 billion naira to this effort. More members are invited and allowed as long as they are willing to contribute at least 1 billion naira. 3. Operational committee. This committee is responsible for project management, logistics, communication, and advocacy. This comprise the CBN, the Aliko Dangote Foundation, Access Bank, Zenith Bank, GT Bank, Stanbic IBTC, Eco Bank, Fidelity Bank, Unity Bank, and Nigerian breweries. Indeed, we also held some video conferencing facilities with the Bankers Committee this morning, and membership of this operational committee were all agreed this morning at the video conference meeting. 4. The technical committee. This committee is responsible for gathering data about the number and size of equipment and materials needed nationwide in different parts of the country to combat this pandemic. They will also be responsible for intellectual leadership around testing issues, treatment protocols, isolation centers, etc., just to mention a few. Membership comprise Nigerian Center for Disease Control (NCDC), the World Health Organization, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Federal Ministry of Health, and select members of the operational and funding committees. We will be working with reputable institutions and consultants, including the Lagos State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Akin Abayomi, and I'm sure you will understand the reason for bringing him in. He has played a lot of role, he has done a lot of work, and he has shown dexterity in dealing with the issues so far in Lagos. Other consultants that will join are Dr. Christian Happy, as well as Dr. Philip Oyebujo. Information gathered so far has revealed that to procure all needed equipment, material, and infrastructure needed to fight this pandemic, over 120 billion naira needed to be raised, either through funding, donations, or equipment or material donation. The Bankers Committee and these important stakeholders will be required to step up to support this endeavor. And I repeat, this is purely a private sector involvement in supporting the federal government efforts in combating this pandemic. We are already engaging other important stakeholders in Nigeria and abroad, such as the NNPC and players in the oil industry. An account will be set up at the Central Bank of Nigeria to receive both naira and foreign currency from our donors, both within Nigeria and outside the country. The technical committee, and we will be publishing the relevant account numbers we're talking about in the newspapers so that everybody knows the accounts into which the funds will be paid. The technical committee will be providing information about the venue where or locations where equipment and materials will be received just for those who wish to donate equipment and materials to us. The need for all Nigerians to play a role in this fight cannot be understated, as we are quite literally in the fight of our lives. I must highlight the fact that this is not just about bringing money. Your time, your services, your support, your products will be helpful at this time. But let me also stress, like I said earlier, this is purely a private sector endeavor. Accounts will be opened at the Central Bank of Nigeria to receive funds. The technical committee will also advertise locations where equipment and materials will be received. But more importantly, as we all know, it's about money and funding. Let me stress that the coalition, for the sake of accounting and sake of transparency, will open its books to all Nigerians or to the world to see any amount contributed and by any individual or organization, or the number of materials and equipment contributed by any individual or institution. Proper audit will be conducted by reputable audit firms just to ensure that everybody is happy with the way funds are received and the way the funds are expended. But I want to assure everyone that we are determined to ensure that, most importantly, that Nigeria survives this battle ahead, and we will need the support of everybody to ensure that this is done. The committee has already begun work and will keep you updated of progress as we move on in this battle. I thank you all for your time. Thank you.